Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kristen. I'm the maker behind this little corner of the internet, DoSo Knits, where I share with you guys how knitting and other fiber crafts have woven into my life. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. Today is episode 64 of my podcast, and in these videos I share with you finished objects, things that I'm working on, things that I want to be working on in the not too distant future, all of that kind of fun, fibery goodness. So if you're ready to dive in, I have quite a lot to share with you because it's been a little longer than my typical podcasting schedule. I'm recording this about a month since my last episode, and I normally try to do about an every 2-week schedule. However, last weekend I was sick. It was the long weekend and I got a cold, and this cold kicked my butt, and it's still a little bit in my voice. You can kind of hear it. I'm feeling significantly better. My voice still is not back to its normal self. So I have so much to share with you because it's like a full month of making, and since I was sick on a long weekend last weekend, I basically knit and slept. That was basically all I did for about 3 days straight. So I hope you are ready to dive in. I hope you have something cozy to drink. I'm just drinking water today. It is very sunny here in Denver, so that is very exciting. But yeah, hope you have something cozy to drink. As always, show notes are down in the description box below. I link to all of my project pages and information can be found on there. And if you'd like to follow me other places, I'm DoSo Knits here on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Ravelry. So that's where you can find me to stay up to date in between these episodes. But we'll just go ahead and dive right into my finished objects that I have to show you. I'm going to try very hard to not make too many sick sounds while I'm talking. So if there's more cuts than normal, that's probably why. I probably had to cough or blow my nose or something in between. And I'm trying to keep those out for you. Anyway, I have, let me count really quick, 5 finished objects to show you today. Now, granted, they are all small accessories / smaller projects. However, there are quite a few to show you. But before we dive into finished objects, we'll talk first about what I'm wearing. This is my Easy V sweater, which is by Caitlin Hunter. I knit this in a natural merino DK in a dark brown, and then 3 different colors of Spin Cycle Dream State. I wore this yesterday and I'm wearing it again today because it's just like that perfect temperature for it. I feel like it's just like a nice sweatshirt style vibe, and I really like the fit. I really like the neckline, and Caitlin Hunter has another sweater that's not color work but has this same neckline, and I think I want to make that as well. I need to do a little research, but I think that might be going in my queue for this year. But yeah, that is what I am wearing. I highly recommend this pattern. It's very comfortable. I like wearing it a lot. I think it feels comfortable, but I feel put together when I wear it, which is like my perfect kind of clothing that I like. Not hard, but it makes you look like you're put together. So we'll move into the first finished object that I have, and this is my Volcano Trail, which is a KAL by Maxim Cyr, and here it is. It's a very long KAL. So you knit it from this edge down, holding 2 fingering weight yarns together. It's a DK weight pattern, and the way this transitions of colors work is it's 4 different colors of fingering weight yarn, and you start with holding your first color together, which is what makes this band, and then you use your first and second color together, this color 2 by itself, color 3 and 2 together, color 3 by itself, 3 and 4 together, and then 4 by itself for the bottom edging. The two edgings are knit and stockinette in the round so that you get a nice, you know, it's just a nice collar, and you fold it down and whip stitch it together. So you knit that in the round twice as long and then fold it down when you're done, and you do the same for the bottom. But then when you're knitting the body, you switch to knitting flat for your garter, so then you still are knitting every single round. And at the end you seam up the back with mattress stitch, and I mean, you can see my seam. So my mattress stitch, especially in garter, still needs a little bit of work. I don't know, it was kind of hard for me to tell which like smile and umbrella to go into to get it to line up perfectly. And I was really trying to be conservative. You're supposed to just cut like a long piece of your second color to do all the seaming, but I still had all my ends on the inside of this. So when I went to do the seaming, I just used my ends to like seam it together. So this is the inside. So I kind of like wove in my ends by doing the seaming. So maybe if I had used another thread, maybe it would have looked a little neater. But I mean, it's on the back and no one's gonna notice. And then the other modification I made is you're supposed to, there's this slip stitch texture on the front. You're supposed to use this top color and duplicate stitch all the way down on top of it. But that top color is my least favorite of the colors. I like the marled look of this. So for right now, I'm not going to do that. This is kind of what the cowl looks like on. It is very tall. I feel a little like my neck looks a little short when I wear it, but I think like in, like if I put a coat on and then this kind of in the coat, it's definitely really nice. I like that it's a cowl that, it's not one that you're gonna put on and then it like slouches down like this and your neck is still exposed. It's definitely like a cowl that's there to keep your neck warm, and I really like that. I like the colors. I think it's like a nice pop with this orange and then all the green to the browns. I think look really nice, and I think it's gonna match my wardrobe pretty nicely, and it's really nice basic. So overall this took me 15 days to make, so it's not the quickest accessory, but definitely not too long. I used 218 grams total of fingering weight yarn with the 4 different skeins. And then I was just going to give you a breakdown of how much I used of each skein. So I'm looking at my notes here. So for the first color, I used 30 grams. The second color was 58. Color 3 used the most. It almost used a full skein. It was 80 grams. And then the fourth and final color used 50 grams total. So just in case you wanted to go scrap busting for this, I think you easily could do like more colors or even less colors. I used, like I said, 220 grams total. So you could easily just go into your leftovers and, you know, pull a palette together and then just switch colors whenever you want to. It's really fun. And this is blocked and done. And I think the fade looks really nicely. This is Stranded Dye Works Merino Nylon. It was a Fadient kit. I think it was called Tabby. And it had 5 colors in it, but I used 4. So that is that. That is my first finished object. I'm happy I did this. It's been a project that has been on my like to knit list for a while. And then I got inspired after seeing it on Needles at the Ready and wanted to make it myself, and I'm glad I have it in my accessories pile. It's definitely gonna be great for really windy, cold kind of winter days, for sure. That's the kind of cowl I think this is. And it just folds up really nicely. And the DK is just so squishy and nice. So yeah, my first finished object. So my next finished object is going to be a quick one. It's simple. It's just a finished pair of socks for my husband, Shane. So these are just vanilla socks. I did a 2x2 ribbing at the top, about 50 rounds for the leg, a shadow wrap heel, the foot and then a rounded toe. I did these on 9-inch circulars. I did 60 stitches for Shane, and I use a US 0 for my socks. And these are knit in an opal colorway called Thea Steht im Tor. It's a German yarn. So that is the German name. And yeah, they're just opal socks, so they're going to hold up really well. It's a wool and nylon, I think they call it polyamide blend. And yeah, I'm happy that these are done and off the needles. They've been on the needles. They were on the needles for a very long time. They were on for 141 days. I started them in September because I just started them, and then they just kind of sat on the back burner from other projects. So I used 62 grams total for Shane's socks here, and I really like the colors. So the opal yarn does this like self patterning, which is really cool. And I didn't even try to get them to match. After I just finished the Kitchener or the grafting on the first toe, I just started the second one. And to my surprise, they lined up pretty nicely. Like, I think you can see kind of in the cuff, this is where the cuff ends, where my fingers are. So you can kind of see on this one how there's a little more orange in the cuff versus this one. But it's like 2 or 3 rows different between the two socks. So overall they match pretty nicely. I really need to bump up the number of socks in Shane's sock drawer. I definitely have a good amount, but he runs out quicker than I do. And when I say run out, I mean just in the sense of whenever I go to wash socks. Usually I'm having to hand wash our hand knit socks because he's run out and not me. So I'm trying to bump up his sock drawer. I mean, and it's nice because his socks take a little bit longer because his feet are a little larger than when I knit socks for myself, so they can take me a little further. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about these. I have really just been enjoying socks like I normally do. It was weird because once I finished those socks, and for a while I didn't have a single pair of socks on my needles, which is not something I can say that has happened very often in the past couple of years. I was trying to think. I like almost always have socks on, but because some of these other projects that I've been working on have been pretty mindless or have a good amount of just like easy knitting, I didn't have a pair of socks on the needles. So that felt a little weird when I realized that, so I did start a pair of socks, which you'll see in the works in progress section. But yeah, it just felt a little weird. I know a lot of people will always have socks on and that's like their backup, you know, you don't have to think about it, kind of their go-to project. But are there other projects, or is there a project that you have that you always have on the needles just so that you have it? I'd be interested to hear what kind of other projects people keep on other than socks to like always ensure they have a project with them. Let me know. So then my next finished object is another one that is a long time burner. This is my Iris hat, which is a pattern by Sari Nordland. This was on my needles for 228 days, but it is done. Look at this hat. It is as bright as it looks on the screen, if not a little brighter in person. I'm so happy this hat is done. So I knit this on a US 3 needle. It is a 1x1 ribbing. You start at the top and you knit it down. I love the increases in this. I think the increases are such a showstopper. The top of this hat is just beautiful. And then you just knit your hat all the way down. I think you're supposed to knit to 14 inches. I knit 13. And it's supposed to have a double brim, and I just have a single brim. I have blocked this, and it's done. Honestly, I mean, this is what it looks like. It's got a little slouch, which I really like. If I folded it up again, it would, you know, be a little shorter. It is blowing out on the screen just a little bit, but it is like a bright traffic cone kind of yellow. I joked with everyone who sees this hat has commented on it because I've worn it to work a couple times this week, and they're like, oh, I love your hat. And I always tell people, I'm like, this is my if I get lost in a crowd hat. So I envision us like going to like a Christmas market or something where there's a big crowd, and if Shane, you know, and I get separated, if I go to the bathroom, if he's in line at like a food stall, I just imagine me like walking back and he can spot me in the crowd of people because my hat is so bright. That is what I envision this hat as, just like a really easy to find me hat. So I used 2 yarns for this. It is Neighborhood Fiber Company Rustic Fingering, which was a single ply yarn, fingering weight. And then I held it with La Bien-Aimée Kumo, which is their Surrey alpaca lace weight. So it has a really nice halo. And I originally had knit this into an everyday slouchy beanie. Didn't like the fit of it. It was too slouchy for me. So I ripped it out, reclaimed the yarn, and I restarted this hat. And I love it. I love the finished product of this. As you can tell, since it took me 228 days, I started this last July. It's now February. The process was a little tedious for me. Now, I didn't work on it all that time. I had it for a while and set it aside. And then really over the last month, have focused on this. I was taking it when we were driving to the rock climbing gym. Shane usually drives. We go together. It's about a 30-minute drive to get there and to come back. So I would knit this in there. I started taking it to restaurants. The thing with like the 1x1 ribbing is I can't necessarily multitask when I was working on this project. I would have to look at my hands. So if I'm doing something where I'm in the daylight, such as driving, where I'm not actively driving, or if we're at a restaurant, I can work on this, but it's not something that's super mindless for me. But the result of the 1x1 rib is so nice. What I was going to say when I tried it on, I do think it is a smidge too big for me. If I knit this again, I would probably not do the final. I don't remember how many increases are per round. Let's see how many stars we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like there's 6 increasing points to make this little star. So that means the final round probably increased 6 stitches. I probably would not do that final increase round or the last 2 increase rounds to get rid of 6 to 12 stitches in order to make this just a little bit snugger. I do have a smaller head, so take that with whatever information you will. But it is nice that when I have like my curls, if I put it on, it's not squishing them too much. But it's definitely like, I don't know if you can, if this is any help as to how loose it is compared to my head. But I really like it. I think it's really cute. I would knit this pattern again. Once you get going, it is a nice one to just kind of have on the needles in the background if you need something that takes a long time. And yeah, the 1x1 rib is just gorgeous and stunning. Oh, and this hat, I did my first ever Italian bind off. I don't think that's what's called for in the pattern, but I've heard so many people talk about it recently and how it's pretty, and I usually do a tubular bind off for 1x1 rib. So I wanted to try the tubular or the Italian, and I like it. I think it's pretty. I think it has a nice rollover effect. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I liked it. I liked the process. I think I like the process of a sewn tubular bind off a little bit more. But yeah, that's my Iris hat. My very bright yellow hat. It is not perfect. There are definitely points where I didn't catch both my Surrey and my main color. And it was funny. We were at dinner and I had Shane look at it. And I should like put it to him this side up, and he goes, "You made a mistake." I have this one purl stitch, and I was like, I'm not fixing it. Not at all. It is totally fine. Do not care, because I think I was a couple inches past it at that point, and I was like, I am not ripping back. I am not going to fix that. I do not care. It was just funny that obviously he can pay attention enough to find a mistake. So that's pretty good. Props to him. So yeah, Iris hat. Another project done. This used basically all of my scraps from my everyday slouchy beanie, because when I ripped that out, I just recaked it, and I caked the single ply and the Surrey together. I looked in my stash, in my leftovers, and I have some leftover of the Neighborhood Fiber single ply, but I can't find any leftovers of the Surrey, so I think I might have used it all. Overall, the hat weighs 94 grams. And typically the Surrey skeins are like 25 grams, but I have like 55 grams of, I don't know. The math doesn't exactly math for like having used all the Surrey versus the single ply, unless my skein was originally 50 grams. Let's look. Okay, so yeah, my Surrey was originally 50 grams. And I used 33 of those grams in my everyday slouchy beanie. And for my Neighborhood Fiber, I originally used 64 in my everyday slouchy beanie. So I would say I used 64 grams of the single ply, and I used, let me relook, 33 grams of the Surrey. I have no idea what the leftovers are, but that's about what I used. Okay. We're done talking about this hat now. All right, so I have one more finished yarn project, and then I have another project to show you. But this is my finished project. Oh, it's so cute. So this is Alexandre the Blue Russian Cat, which is a crochet pattern by Carrie Lord, which is Toft of Toft UK. So I knit this for my little nephew. I asked his mom, my sister-in-law, what animal she would like from the book. I bought the Edwards Menagerie book. It was not too expensive on Amazon, and it comes with like 20 patterns. And I made her this little cat. Well, for James. It's so cute. So it's a crochet pattern. I used Lion Brand's Skein Tones yarn. I have a second skein here. So it's 100% acrylic yarn. It is 100% acrylic, worsted weight, 100 grams is 185 yards. I used the entire skein for this little cat. This is the color Honey. And I got this yarn from Joann's, and it was like $3 because it was on sale and I could use a coupon. So for a little stuffy, I thought that was perfect. It claims to be anti-pilling, so hopefully it won't fuzz up over time. So you make the body, the legs and the arms are the same. You crochet a little tail, and then his head and the 2 ears. His face I sewed on with some like leftover Patton's wool in black that I had, and then stuffed him with just basic polyfill stuffing. I think he's so cute. He does sit up nicely. Honestly, the hardest part was sewing on his little ears. It took me so many times to like line them up and get them to sit together nicely, but I thought the book was very helpful. I think he's so cute, and I think he's a good size. I used a 4mm hook for the worsted weight yarn. In the pattern book, you can basically knit them with whatever size yarn you want. If you use a fingering weight, they'll be smaller. Bulky weight makes bigger ones. So I did the worsted weight, but I wanted to make sure he was nice and firm. And I think he's so cute. So this is my Alexandre cat. And as you can see, I did buy another skein. I'm thinking about making a little bunny as well because I've always really liked the bunny. So I might make the bunny for myself. But yeah, I think he's so cute and it was so fun. This took me, where did it go? Where is it in my book? 6 days. This took me 6 days. It was so cute. And honestly, the reason it took me 6 days is because I had to wait for the stuffing to come. Because my Joanne was out of stuffing, so I had to order stuffing. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. This was inspired by, I was watching Happy Hour with Les Garcons, and they had knit some of these little stuffies from Edward's Menagerie, the book. And I was just like, oh, I want to make a little stuffy for my nephew. And I think it's so cute. And it's been sitting here for a while, and I haven't been able to podcast, so I haven't mailed them. But yeah, that's that. So cute. So yeah, and this yarn was great to work with. I know it's like, oh, should you use wool or not for a child? But I thought the acrylic will be easier to clean and just way more cost effective. Like for $3, I got a whole little toy. So, I mean, plus the stuffing, but I have so much stuffing now I could probably make 20 stuffies. And that's just because there's so much you can do. Like, this doesn't take so much stuffing, and I only bought like one package. So, anyway, that's my crocheted stuffy. Alright, so then I was mistaken. I actually have 2 more finished objects that aren't knitting or crochet. But I did finish a little embroidery kit. This is called Oasis, and the pattern is from Cozy Blue. The kit's from Cozy Blue. I joined their monthly stitch club, which is, it comes with the printed fabric and the thread. You have to supply the hoop and the needle. And then there's no instructions. You just kind of stitch it however you want. But I really enjoyed working on this. I worked on this a lot while I was sick because it was just easy to do the small stitches, to not think about it. And the mandala was just so fun. So now with the Stitch Club, Cozy Blue doesn't always release them as patterns, but I did see on her Instagram that she is releasing the PDF for this pattern on March 1st, and then the kit with her spring collection on the 15th of March. So if you do like this kit, which I highly recommend, it's going to be available. I had so much fun making this, so this is now hanging on my wall. I'm slowly hoping to fill up this area of my wall with embroidery kits. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a 6-inch hoop, and I need to get some felt for the back. So here's my back if you're interested. I need to get some felt to like sew on and secure it. But that just involves making another trip to the craft store, which is never a bad thing. So then my last finished object is some spinning that I've done. So this is a combo spin that I did with 2 of my months of my Nest Fiber Club. It was from March and April of last year, and the 2 colors were Spring Ahead and Paper Kites. One was like a bluey pinky base, and the other one was more like greens and purples, but it had some overlap. I have about 200 grams here. It's 50% merino, 50% Falkland, because each of the bases was different. I did 2 plies and then plied the different colors together. I think it's a really like pastel-y, springy kind of color. It's not necessarily my colors. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this, but I'm pretty happy with it. I have no idea how many meters it is because I didn't count it before I washed it or after, but I do know that it's about a DK and 200-ish grams. So yeah, that is another project I finished. I've really been enjoying what I've been doing recently is before going to bed, I start listening to my audiobook, and I've been spinning while listening to my audiobook, and that's been a really enjoyable experience. So this really helped get some of those projects off the needles before bed. That's just my way to calm down, listen to my audiobook, and spin. So I think the colors are really fun. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure if this is my color or not, but it'll probably just live in my stash for a little while. And sometimes I just spin to spin, and I don't spin for a project in mind or a weight in mind. I just spin and see how it goes. So I did want to show the next spin that I'm planning to start. This is a color that I got from Viking Fiber Co. They are very local to me. I think I could have gone to pick this up instead of having it shipped, but I just had it shipped because I was lazy. This is a one-of-a-kind colorway. I think it looks really cool. So it is 100% Corriedale non-superwash. One-of-a-kind number 103. So it's just like oranges, some browns, blues, and some undyed spots. So I think this is what I will be starting next. I'm thinking again just another 2-ply, and yeah, I'm just gonna spin it up and see how it goes. This one I think is a little more in line with my color sense, so I'm more likely to do a final project with this versus some of my other ones. I also did restart my Nest Fiber Club again because I'm trying to spin more often, and I'm feeling a little uninspired with the fiber that's in my stash right now. And I really liked being able to take two colors that I wasn't sure about and pairing them together. So I think getting a couple more months of that would be fun to pair some more colors. So yeah, that is officially all of my finished objects. So 3 knitting, 1 crochet, 1 spinning, and 1 embroidery. And that's all the things I've been working on over the last month. A lot of smaller projects, but I have been having a lot of fun with the smaller, more instant gratification kind of projects. So now we're going to move into what's currently on my needles. And I'm happy with the number of projects that I have happening right now. I've been trying to, have less projects at a time in allowing me to focus on projects quickly and trying to get them off quicker so I don't have these long lingering ones. I will admit one of them is causing me a little bit of heartache. So let's start with the ones that I've been having a lot of fun with. So this is a Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague, and I've been loving this. I showed it in my last episode, but I've made so much progress on this project. This is where I'm at. So the Musselburgh hat is just a 2-sided hat, similar to the iris in that you start at top down, but unlike the iris, you keep going, knit the other side, and then it'll be a double layered hat that you fold in on itself to make a hat. So this is the Spin Cycle Nocturne base, which is like their normal dyed-in-the-wool base, but it's on a darker base. It is 200 yards, sport weight, non-superwash. This is the color Snake Skin. I have 2 skeins of this, and so I finished the first skein and started the second. On the camera you can't tell where I switched skeins, but in person I really feel like I can. It's right here. But I'm planning to, I knit completely all the first skein. I plan to knit basically all of the second skein so that when I fold it up, the fold will happen right at that color change. So, and I'm aiming for a folded in half and then a folded brim length. Last time I showed it, I think I was somewhere down here, and I've made this much progress. I have about 2.5 inches to go before starting the crown decreases, and this is how much I have left of my second skein. So the snakeskin base is like a nice green, And I think this has just been so exciting to knit up because it is just stockinette in the round. And since it's a sport weight, it goes faster than the fingering weight versions because it's a little thicker. And I'm using a US 4. Ideally, I would have used a US 3, but that was on my iris hat project and I didn't want to wait. But I think the fabric is still nice. I think it's slightly open, but not so much once I fold it in on itself. I think it's going to be a really nice texture, and it's just been so fast and fun to knit. I swear every time I work on this, I add an inch with like no problem. So it's been growing so quickly and I've just been loving it. So I'm doing this as part of the Spinberg KAL, which Spin Cycle is hosting. That knit along ends at the end of February. It is currently February 23rd, so I have 6 days left, and I think I'll be able to finish this. That is the goal. So I really love this. I think the color shifts are so fun, so I think that's another reason it grows. See, now I think you can see that color change. Right there is where I changed skeins. But yeah, I think watching the color change, knitting up, seeing the color change is really inspiring to keep knitting. So really been enjoying this. It's been on my needles for 33 days now. I started it near the end of January, but this has been my during meetings. If we're driving now, I take this. This is my out and about project, and this is a hand-dyed project bag from one of my friends. It's perfect for this. So that is my first project I've been working on. So the next project I've been working on is one that I hinted at, and this is my newest pair of socks because I wasn't working on a pair of socks. So these are a pair of vanilla socks that I've started. Again, I'm knitting these for Shane, so they are 60 stitches. I'm using a US 0 9-inch circular. For these, I did a 1x1 rib in a contrasting color, 20 rows, and then I'm working on the leg now. So I'm doing these in my Desert Vista Dye Works yarn because I did the first month in January, and I've done her knit along for the past 3 years. This would be year 4, where you knit a pair of socks in her yarn each month. And I've kind of been ham-hawing in February if I was going to continue. And then I felt weird for not having socks on the needles, and so I grabbed Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. So ideally, to take part in the knit along, I would finish these by the end of the month. However, I have to finish this Musselburgh by the end of the month. And I'm really trying to not... For the past 3 years, since I've been working on socks like this, I feel like I always try to start and finish them within 1 month. And it can put a lot of pressure on myself, and it can put a lot of like my knitting time. It's like I feel like I have to be doing it on my socks in order to finish them within the month that I start them. However, I'm really trying to knit projects that I want to be knitting on, not so much like an obligation and a deadline. I really thrive with a deadline, which is why I like doing test knits and why I like doing like this knit along to try to finish a pair of something within a month. However, I really want this year to be focused on garment knitting and sweater knitting. So I'm not trying to put the pressure on myself to like finish these this month. For me, I want socks to be something that, you know, like my Musselburgh, once that's done, these are like my during a meeting, out to dinner kind of project, something small, portable, that doesn't take a lot of focus, and not so much like I need to finish this for this month. So I think that's kind of where I'm going with my sock knitting. Because I really want to focus on more wearables and larger projects. Because as much as I want to increase Shane's sock drawer, I have a ton of socks. He has a good amount of socks, and eventually I'd like to start transitioning to garments because they take a little longer. They take a little more thought. They use a little bit more of my yarn that I really got to get through. But also, if I focus on them, they'll knit up quicker. Because stitch-wise, these are just knit at a tight gauge versus this. But like, they grow pretty quickly. So that's just kind of my ramblings on my socks right now. I'll tell you the colors. This is her Viso base. It's a 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. Fingering weight, 462 yards. This is the colorway National Emo Day. And I bought it because I think the colors are fun. So it has like this stripe that's multicolored, and then it kind of has 4 stripes that fade into this color again. So I'm thinking I am doing the contrasting charcoal for the cuff. And that's what I'm going to do for the heel. I'm thinking what I'll do is once I get to this stripe again, then I'll start the cuff or the heel. So this stripe and the heel will kind of blend together, and then the first stripe on the foot will be this rainbowy color. So yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time on this. Like I said, they're just something I wanted to start, and I've been enjoying them. I think I said these are 60 stitches, and I did a 1x1 cuff because I just thought it looked really nice. So those are these, and they are living in one of my Stolen Minutes project bags, the small size. They're jellyfish. I love them. So that's kind of the end of like my mindless, easy works in progress right now. And honestly, like, I'm not really working on the socks. I'm going to finish my Musselburgh, and the socks are going to kind of take my on-the-go easy knitting. Like I said, I just felt weird for not having socks on the needles, so I felt like I needed to start them. However, we're now moving into the things that take a little more thought and are a little bit bigger. So, this is my Eastwind jacket, which is a pattern by Emily Foden. This has been on my needles for 53 days because I started it at the beginning of this year. This is a jacket, a winter jacket type project. I've just pulled everything out of my project bag. It's in a bearded pearl zippered bag. But I've made good progress on this. It just hasn't been a lot of progress over the last 2 weeks. It was more so the 2 weeks before. So we're going to rediscover this project together. So I have finished the front right piece. This stitch marker from Simply Serving is a pine cone, is where I was last time. So I have finished, you like cast on for this sleeve stitches and then knit up and start doing some decreases to do the shoulder shaping, and then you have a little bit of collar shaping to do with the cable continuing up. You pick up on the inside a line across for the bottom of your pocket, knit up, and then you graft the pocket, which is this contrast color, to your main color, which was on a provisional cast on. And I think I did pretty well. There's no like ribbing on the front, so it kind of rolls a little. And you do it in the contrast color, but I think I did okay. It's not 100% perfect, but it also is not blocked yet. And then you go through and seam down the sides of your pocket on the inside, which wasn't actually written in the pattern that you weren't supposed to pick up the stitches, but it said to knit stockinette and not pick them up as you go. So that's what I did. And I have a pocket on the front. Technically the pocket was like at the very end of the pattern, but I was like, I just want to finish the whole piece, so I pick up and knit that. The main color and body is knit using a mohair and my original color. This is West Yorkshire Spinners Jacob's DK and Rowan Kid Silk Haze. And then my contrasting color is what you use for your initial cast on. If I could unwind it, sorry, it's on this end. What you use for initial cast on, the interior of your pocket, and you use it for this little bind off. I think you might use it on like the bind off on the cuffs, but I'm not 100% sure. So this is like a really long drop shoulder. Once I finish the other pieces you then pick up and I'll knit like the ribbing. So since finishing this piece, I've started the left front and made this much progress. I quickly set this aside after finishing that and have been working on other projects, but this is one I knew was going to be a, once it started getting warm, it was going to be hard to continue working on it. And this weekend, it's supposed to be very nice. So this is one I think I just have to stay committed to. It won't be ready for this winter season, but I want it ready for next winter season. And it's really not hard to work on. I enjoy working on it. It has like this texture stitch throughout. Since you knit back and forth, there's only like 60 stitches on your needles, and then when you cast on here, it's like 100 and something. But then you don't knit for very long before you start decreasing, so that's exciting. I've just had other things that have been really fun. The only thing is this one with the mohair and DK together, and it's kind of at a dense-ish gauge. I knit the main fabric on a US 5 for a DK and lace together, so it's about a worsted. It is a bit tight and my hands do get a bit tired, so I can't work on it for very long times. Like, I definitely have to take breaks, and it doesn't fly as quickly as I would hope. And it's not because I'm knitting flat. I think it's just the combination of the yarns together. It's not the fastest knitting experience, which is fine. I am totally in that for the finished object. I think it's going to be so warm, and I've wanted this jacket for years. I think I just really need to get back to cycling my main projects with my knitting sprints that I do. So focusing on a project for 4 hours of continuous knitting. It can be over multiple sessions and times, and then after 4 hours move on to another project. Because this next project is also one that I'm kind of like hemming and hawing about a little. I don't know if I want to set this one aside for a little bit because I feel like I've done a lot of work on it. And then I get discouraged because it's still taking so long. So this is my Attune Shawl by Andrea Mowry. And this has been on my needles for 211 days. It is another project that I started last July. I have made good progress on it. It just feels like it takes so long to grow. So, ta-da! It is a half brioche, half fisherman's rib shawl. And I have finished that section. And now I have moved on to the garter stripes on the bottom. Now, you may be thinking, Kristen, you're in the garter section. It's gonna go so quick. I thought the same thing. But let me tell you. 1, I'm on US 4 needles, which is fine. I'm using Merino DK from Hedgehog Fibers in the color Pet Rock for color 1, and some hand spun yarn for color 2. Now, I was very excited to get past the brioche and the ribbing section because I was like, the garter's going to go so fast. It's going to be all knitting. I'm so excited. It's not all knitting because you're still striping these colors and they're 1 row stripes. So the thing is, for 1 row stripes in garter, you knit across, you slide it back, you purl across. You pick up the next color, you purl across, you slide it back, you knit across. So I'm still doing this like slip and slide and knit and purl, and now the rows are just getting very, 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 very long. I'm getting lots of practice on my purling. I like the look of the 1 row stripes. I think it looks really, really cool. But I had to do 80 rows individually. It's 20 repeats, which means 40 rows of purling, 40 rows of knitting, and every 4 rows you increase like 12 stitches. And at the end, we're going to have like 300 plus. So it just takes a long time. So yeah, like I said, between my Eastwind and this one, they're both like long, laborious, but like laborious in like a nice way. They're just time consuming projects. I'm so excited to have this one done. I think it's going to be so beautiful, but I do worry by the time I finish it, it's going to be too warm to wear it. I also think it's really going to grow because the Merino DK is superwash. So there's a chance it may be huge. And there's a chance I may not do all 20 repeats of the garter. Maybe I'll do 15 because I think it's like 10 plus rounds of depth and it's pretty tall. It's kind of hard to tell because I'm on a really crunched needle, but this is my center spine length. And when you lay that on me, I mean, it's pretty long. It's like from my chest to my waist. So I may not do all 20 repeats, which would be nice for my sanity. But I do really love it. I love the colors. I just think I need to set it aside for maybe a few days to just let me decompress and then want to come back to it. It is good television knitting now because all the rows are all knitting across or all purling across. So that is a perk of this project now. And it is in my Tanny Casey drawstring bag with sheep on it. So that is my Attune Shawl. Alright, so I have one more work in project to show you. It's brand new and I'm loving this one. As much as my other 2 larger projects feel like they're taking a lot of time, this one has been such a joy. So I think this is the one I'm going to focus the beginning of my weekend on. This is my Traveler Hoodie by Andrew Mowry. This has been on my wish list for a while and I'm so excited that I've cast this on. I've been working on it for 16 days and I think that's a testament to why I want projects to like more focus and shorter amount of times, because I loved my Eastwind when I started it 53 days ago and now I'm like, oh, it's taking so long, versus it's not taking that long. I just have been focusing on multiple projects. But this one's only been on for a little bit and I'm like, oh, I love it. It's so fun. It's new and shiny, new and fun and shiny. So this is knit from the bottom up. It looks dark. It is a navy blue that I am knitting with. It is Knit Picks Wool the Andes in the color Navy Heather. No, sorry, Midnight Heather. 100% Peruvian Highland wool. 50 grams gives you 137 yards. It's a sport weight. Knit Picks Wool the Andes is one of my go-to sweater yarns. I do have an affiliate link with Knit Picks. It's down below, which just means it gives you a little kickback if you buy anything from Knit Picks using my link. So this is where I'm at so far. So this is knit from the bottom up, and I have a ton of notes on my Ravelry project page about this project. Just because this stitch pattern grows. So this is my swatch. She's quite large, and I think you can get a little bit more sense of the color here. So that's a little more true to color, but when I hold it back, it's a little darker. This yarn is dark, and when I knit at night, I have to use my neck lamp to see what I'm doing. But it's nice because it's this like bumpy texture, so you knit some rounds and then purl some rounds to get this like kind of ridgy texture. However, it does grow a lot post blocking. So Andrea has some like, oh, it should grow roughly this much, but I have my pre-blocking measurements and my post-blocking. So pre-blocking I had 41 rows in 4 inches. Post-blocking I had 35 rows. So overall I have like a 1.17 growth rate, which is like a 1.2 rounded up, but I did a lot of measurements based on my gauge because I am knitting the size 3 to get a 49.5 inch finish size, which is a little bigger than the size 3 in her pattern, because I'm getting 20 stitches over 4 inches and the pattern is written for 21 stitches. So my gauge is a little looser, but it's pretty close, and I didn't want to go down another needle size because I'm using a US 5. And I feel like my fabric looks nice. And the reason I didn't want to go down is because I had to knit the ribbing on a US 3. So I did the 2 inches of ribbing, and now I'm onto the body. I want my overall sweater to have a length from my shoulders to the bottom hem of 20 to 21 inches. I'm not 100% certain which one I'm going to go with yet. If anything, maybe I'll shoot for 20.5. But I measured one of my favorite like cropped sweaters that I have in my wardrobe, and it's about 50 inches wide and 20 inches long. And I'm just thinking an extra inch would just make the hoodie a little more wearable. So I'm leaning toward 21 inches. So based on my growth rate and looking at the schematic, the shoulder shaping on the sweater is 2 inches. And then you have however long your drop shoulder is. I want my circumference of my sleeve to be 18. So each side needs to be 9. So the length of my shoulder is going to be 9 plus 2 inches for the shoulder shaping. So 11 inches for the top of my sweater. I want my total sweater to be 21 inches. So taking 11 from the sleeve and the shoulder shaping, I want my body to be 10 inches before I start the sleeves. I hope this all makes sense, but it's all written in my project page as well. So since the stitch pattern grows, I'm not going to knit this to 10 inches because it's going to stretch out. I have a 1.17 growth rate, so 10 inches divided by 1.17 means I should knit this to 8.5 inches long. If I want it to be, so 2 plus 9 is 11. If I want it to be 22 inches long, realizing I did some of my math wrong because I have 10 and 11 inches. Anyway, it's nothing crazy. If I want it to be 21 inches long, my top half is 11 inches. I need the bottom to be 10. So I need to knit this bottom half to 8.5 inches because it will grow out. That's my plan. And then since the sleeves are going to be 9 inches tall with my growth rate of 1.17, 9 divided by 1.17, I'm going to knit my sleeves to 7.7 inches. So I'll probably round that to 7 3/4, 7.75. Yeah, that's my hoodie. I'm still on the fence of if I'm going to do the hoodie or the crew neck. I currently own no hoodies in my wardrobe. I am a sweatshirt person. I like sweatshirts. However, I want a hoodie. So I'm leaning toward the hoodie. I bought enough yarn to do the hoodie. But I also have 21 inches of body and sleeves to knit before I have to make that decision. So I have a lot of contemplating to do. I think I'm going to do the hoodie. Just because I think it would be nice. And with the crop, I think the hood with the crop and the cute, yeah, I just think it's going to be really cute. I'm excited to have this in my wardrobe. I think the navy is just going to be a nice neutral color to throw on with everything. And yeah. I have other projects that I really want to start. Some other sweaters. But I'm really trying to limit it to 2 garments. I might increase it to 3 garments depending on when I finish this Attune, just because, I don't know. We'll see. It's my rules. I can do whatever I want. But I do like to keep, I think keeping it down to 4 projects, just focusing my making down will keep me more engaged because I'll have projects to work on. And if I have 2 garments and one's at a tricky part but the other one isn't, like I have that back and forth that I can do, versus once I get more I can feel the time spread out between them. I feel like less progress happens because more time stretches versus the progress. It's like the line graph goes like this. The progress versus time is less steep versus, so like this is progress versus time for multiple projects. And this is project versus time when you have less. It just feels more exponential. So anyway, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts about multiple projects and focus and progress and staying motivated? How do you stay motivated? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this chatty episode. It's been a while since I've podcasted. I'm happy to sit down and talk to you guys again. I'm excited to sit down and edit this so that you can enjoy it with me when you're watching it, which means it's already happened. The editing's done. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate the time that you have spent with me today. That is the most generous thing you can give someone, I feel like, in today's era where attention is the hardest currency to come by. So thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you got a little bit of stitching, knitting, crocheting, embroidery, something done while hanging out. I hope I provided a little inspiration. And I'll see you guys again in a couple weeks for my next episode. Hopefully I don't get sick again and I can continue on my normal bi-weekly schedule. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you to my Ko-Fi members that support the channel and help me mail out prizes and things like that when they happen. I love all of you. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Like and subscribe. I forgot to say that. So yeah, happy knitting. I'll see you in a few weeks. Bye.